Is this where I start singing a countdown? 30, 29, 28. Oh, wait, maybe they will give me a violation for counting because somebody counted before me. Hello, Martin. You guys don't know what I'm referencing. Got a copyright claim for because other channels use the same countdown because it's included in Streamlabs. Had somebody try to claim all of my dollars and put them in escrow from advertising. Yeah, it's people are special out there. Hello, Joy. Hello, Original Scott, Tink, Fluffy, Mouse Mitts, Dime, Flipper, Robert. Frank got dramatic last night over the zeros. What do you mean by dramatic last night over the zeros? I'm curious. I figured from the number of emails that no matter what I do, that I'm going to have to talk about the three zeros yet again today. Even after screaming about it on Monday, I won't have a choice. Just hoping you guys will get it this time. Or unfortunately, the regulars in the stream already get it. People that watch regularly, they already get it. But we have a few that pop in, once or twice a month for 10 minutes here, 20 minutes there. And they're going to still come in and ask. Hello, Dr. Sarah. Happy birthday to everybody that is celebrating. Oh, wait, Tupelo. Was that the whole gravity thing? Isn't that today? Oh, that's right. Is it the 12th, 10th, 20th, somewhere in here? Supposed to lose it for 7 seconds. I did not even plan accordingly, Tupelo. Dooku, man, don't do it. It's a trap. I had no idea what Frank said, so it's not like I'm getting involved there, upside down, whatever. They are working on a law to remove zeros, which is telling us worst case it's a rear. Most people consider the rear to be somewhere between like 75 cents and a buck 40. So I mean, sounds all great. I cannot find where that law has passed yet, but I can certainly find where they talk about it being presented. Boom, boom, boom. Maurice, I missed the zeros, and do we need a trust? You're killing me, Maurice. But we're going to talk about it. I'm going to wait a few minutes in hopes that I don't have to do it over and over and over again. So I will wait a little while, right, John? I mean, dude, people are like, "Oh my god, the world's ending. They may only give us 75 cents." What the f is wrong with you people? That's crazy good. I know we all want more so we can do better works and more humanitarian stuff, but wow. You only gave me $5 million instead of 10. I get the idea, I do, but TP Abby's birthday, happy birthday. Susie, don't know what it would do to the dong. I don't expect it to go for a rear, so I still expect it to all go at one time. If you want to do the mental math and the gymnastics to try to figure it out separately, knock yourselves out. Yeah, we're gonna let you work through those. I see a lot of chat is a little behind. Yeah, let the chickens hatch before you start counting them. Yeah, you're right, Quester. New people awaken every day. Unfortunately, it makes it rough on the ones that have been at it for years, having to rehash old information. It is, you know, but it's not going to change. Gonna have to suck it up every now and again and rehash it. David, happy belated to your mom. The news is really good, guys. The news has been great. No need for people to be salty. Save that for me. Hello, Ron L. Good to see you. Spackled Daddy. I'm reading some of you guys' comments. Yes, on my signal, it very confusing to people. Like yesterday evening, they said that Parliament will reconvene next Thursday. If they said that today in Iraq on a Wednesday that they will convene next Thursday, they mean tomorrow. They don't mean the one after the next one. That would be the next after the next. They mean it literally. That's how it translates for them. Literally. If it's Tuesday and they say we're going to meet next Wednesday, that means they're going to meet tomorrow. Do you get it here? A lot of people get very confused over that one. They are looking at it properly. We get very confused. They're like, "Oh, when's that going to happen? We'll go Wednesday." Well, which Wednesday? 3 Wednesdays, 4 Wednesdays, Wednesdays next year. No, in Iraq, they are very specific. And that's true in most of the world. It's an English language, really more of an American thing. Most other English speaking countries would say this Wednesday, they would put a qualifier in front of it. We just don't do it. So it throws us off. Yeah, no, on my signal, it has caused me quite a bit of consternation and headache explaining that over the years. Ellen, it's good to see you. Mary, if we write in the zeros with a Sharpie, can they still be dropped? No, they're permanent then. It's done with a Sharpie, right? Da da. See, James said, Mark, this is Dragon Slayer. I'm hooked up with one of the guys that sat and helped write Nasser Jasser. They're saying it's all going at one time, same time. I very much believe all at one time, same time. Very much believe that one. We're going to get to it. Don't worry. Let's see. In 1968, they brought in Robert's Rules of Orders. Screwed up our entire English class for the next century. Boy, didn't it, Sluggo. Yeah, Hammock, you're right. Different things to different people. Let's see. I have a wife who thinks next means next week and this means this week. And I agree. If you don't specify, but we don't specify, so they take it differently. All positive. As I read these, some people call me zero. Does that count? Biz, you're not a zero to us. Not unless there's a number in front of it. Like 100% awesome all the time, original Biz. All right, let's where are we at? Is it true that they're saying it's gonna happen? B Gallup, man, it's good to see you in the house. Robert, Nasser got passed by Congress, what, back in 99 or 2000? You used to be able to go look it up in the Robert song. You used to be able to go look it up in the congressional record. A number of people saved it in their Wayback Machine and printed stuff. I mean, heck, from your own government, from the government's website back before they took it off when you could download it. Nasera Jacera, right? From the 108th Congress, second session. It's real easy when you control the internet, though. You can just take things off, add things to it. You can make people appear guilty of all kinds of crimes and things. You can. It is crazy how they can cook the books and change history in just a short period of time. Used to, it took like 40, 50 years to change history. Now they can change it in a year or less. I hope you guys are right. Dragon Slayer, that the dinar could go as high as 29. And years ago, we heard rumors of a initial rate for the first million or two, 28.50. I don't hear that from any of my bankers, but I love the thought and the idea. It'd be awesome. Let's see. Mark Frank was in tears. He heard Omar deleting 3 zeros was confirmed. I can't find it in the press, but I can find it from my people on the ground. We've shared articles the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, where it has been mentioned in the press and by ministers, parliamentary ministers, economists, where they are talking about deleting the 3 zeros. And it really is big news, guys. All right. Let's throw up the news time banner for when they talk about this one. I think we're far enough in. We far enough in? Where are we at? Yeah, we're far enough in. When they talk about deleting the zeros, Shabibi talked about it. We've shared those video links before. Number of different articles. Sudani talked about it. The white reform paper, their white papers talk about it. Their plan to lift the zeros, they have talked about it over and over and over. Audio, written, clips, government documents, government ministers, CBI directors, economists that have counseled their prime ministers, you name it. They've talked about this. Their plan is to lift the purchasing power of the dinar, return it to its former glory, make it the father of the dollar again, meaning more valuable than the dollar. Then remove, they're going to delete the higher notes. They don't need them. It doesn't mean they're going to lop it. They're just going to chop off zeros. A 25K becomes a 25. They have said it over and over and over that is not the plan. The plan is to lift the purchasing power. If all they do is wipe the zeros, does that lift the purchasing power? That is a key word. Lift the purchasing power. Wiping the zeros without changing the value does not lift the purchasing power. It doesn't restore it. It used to have a higher value. They came in, they decided because of conflict and war, they were going to give it a different value. Fundamentals didn't change. They did it as a way to limit the ability of the Saddam Hussein to wage war, or his administration to wage war. They didn't print new notes. They didn't take the old 25 notes and suddenly add 3 zeros to them. That's not how it worked. Study the history of it. That's not how it worked when they revalued in Kuwait. It's not how it worked when they revalued in China back in the late 90s, 2000-ish. It's not how it worked in Vietnam when they revalued back like 83 or somewhere in there. It's not how it worked in Iraq in the early 70s. Not how it worked in Iraq and it was like late 40s or early 50s. There have been a number of times in the past where they've changed. They didn't just erase the zeros. The value changed. The larger denomination bills became unyieldy and unusable in day-to-day transactions, so they got exchanged for a bunch of smaller notes. Hopefully that drives that one through and we can get on with the news because I need to hurry to get to Andy today before he joins us. Wait a minute. I need to leave that up because I'm still not completely done with news. I'm kind of afraid to look at the chat now. I'm going to miss birthdays. Law being put forth. I would believe that is a green light for them to change rate. I will agree with that one. Then why? Because they need lower bills. They printed lower bills because they will need the lower bills in circulation. Of course, Mike, you may have been agreeing with me on that one because it makes perfect sense. If the value goes up, that 25K note, how usable is it going to be? Remember, like when you used to go to a convenience store, no bills larger than a 20 because it was too much. Change was too difficult. Can you imagine going in with a 25K note? Let's say it's just worth $1. Your 25K note is worth 25,000. Go into your average store. Can you imagine them having to keep that much cash to make you change? It's unusable. That would be like even in today's society, us having a $20,000 bill, a $50,000, $100,000 bill. I mean, you're going to need armed guards just to take it and get your change at Home Depot when you go buy a pack of screws to fix that door that keeps getting loose and dragging, and your wife's driving you nuts about it. It's not usable. That's why they print lower denomination notes, because the big ones are too big to be usable in day-to-day transactions. Don't know why that is so difficult for so many people to get. Ooh, I'm glad you said that. Okay, I have got to. Hey, look, let's talk about this crazy heat and the dehydration that's going on. This heat wave we're all dealing with now. Been thinking this a lot more because I don't know about you, but drinking a lot of water constantly. Summer, you just load up, stay hydrated. You still feel tired. I still felt tired and bloated and dehydrated. Like no matter how much you drink, nothing seemed to actually stick. Thought it was just heat. Come to find out, liver dehydrated. So went down that rabbit hole. Of course, it helps knowing Dr. Josh, practicing physician, 25 plus years of practicing medicine. Talking about something I never heard before, liver dehydration. Of course, I'd heard about, supplementing liver, helping the liver, but not dehydration of the liver. Not dehydration like drink more water. That's actually could be part of the problem, he said. Especially in the summer when you're chugging water and you're still feeling depleted, there's more things missing than just the water. He explained that your liver is an organ responsible for distributing hydration to the cellular level. And if your liver cells aren't holding on to water properly, it doesn't matter how much you drink. It just passes right through you without doing what it's supposed to do, hydrate you, which is exactly why you can be sweating through a heat wave, drinking water all day, and still feel completely wiped out. The downstream effects, low energy, slow digestion, bloating, stubborn weight, that foggy, dried out feeling that makes you seem a decade older than you are. He said most electrolyte drinks totally miss the point. They're just sugar and salt, not designed for liver function at all. So he created something that was called LTV, Lifetime Vitality, is what that LTV stands for. It uses a clinical dose of marine electrolytes paired with taurine to help your cells actually retain water, not just move it through. Plus milk thistle and dandelion root, which are traditionally used to support the liver's natural detox and hydration function. And unlike other electrolyte drinks that I've been wasting money on throughout the years, there's zero sugar, zero carbs, zero calories. Reviews convinced me to try it. He convinced me to try it. Thousands of people have found great results and far faster than they expected. Gave it a try. I've been drinking it. Does make a difference. Tastes like, to me, like that original Gatorade, not like syrupy sweet like the new versions or the Powerade versions. To me, they're just too sweet. This one has that same kind of tart flavor that they originally had way back when, before they loaded them with sugar. Right now, they are running a limited time offer over at drinkltv, drinkltv.com/MarkZ. And that special right now is up to 64% off. Give it a try this summer. 60. Oh, wait. Metal moving up. Michael, go back a few minutes. We started the news already. You're late. All right. Now that we got the obligatories done, let's keep going on more RV news. We talked about the zeros. We talked about the pending legislation that gets presented on dropping those, deleting those, making it official. Been a whole lot going on that front. On the rumor side, I had one bond contact get in touch overnight. Absolutely convinced he gets paid, released tomorrow, funds released tomorrow night, tomorrow evening. I don't know. He's in Europe, so I don't know what time zone he is counting that tomorrow evening, meaning we may know something even in the daytime hours tomorrow if it occurs. Just everything right now, take it with a little grain of salt. Watch things. The chatter is exceptional. Now we've got to watch and see how it all plays out. Stay very calm. The link is in the description, D. Right there in the video you're watching. That link is, boom, right there in the description of today's video. Super easy to find. Yes, he's expecting Rain Man full funds. He's expecting full funds. We'll see if it happens. We've heard these stories before, guys, so stay very calm, very grounded as we're watching these. Some are under NDA, some aren't. And I assume AKYA that it has to do with the structure of their deals, what they're getting paid, who's in their group, etc. Not everybody is saying that they're getting stuck with an NDA. Just like different house deals, different business deals. Sometimes you get an NDA on a thing. Sometimes you get a non-compete. Sometimes you don't. Ask the lawyers. Iraq accelerates system digitalization to shield state funds. This is important. No news on the boulevard, Susan. It has been exceptionally dry on that front news-wise. Oh, I forgot to send Andy I'm guessing I forgot to send you a link. Sending it right now. All right. Yes, I forgot to send Andy a link, guys. Spare with me. Andy's going to jump in about 2 or 3 minutes. We will do more news after, like regular news, RV news. I want to go ahead and get out of the way before Andy. They're pushing to hurry up digitalization. What they mean by that is a number of things. Ahmed announces reaching a final agreement with Baghdad on a SCUDA system. This is huge for ACL. They've got their final agreement. One of the last 2 big holdups, we are told, before finalizing HCL. That, and we're told that the PMF forces, which they are working on now to have done in September. So we've seen a lot. They had big arrests over the weekend, speeding up the ones on the PMF forces. My account project, this is another big one on the HCL side for Kurdistan region, ending the cash salaries, no more bringing in the cash trucks, handing out cash on payday. They will be getting paid electronically where they can track it and make certain that everybody is real through KYC, AML, digitization. Just here, they are forcing, this has forced them to speed up and get it done. Iraq's World Trade Organization, goods offer file updated. They're moving forward now with their World Trade Ascension because they have put in a modern system, a SCUDA system, customs and tariffs, current system, part of ascending to world trade. So we've had a lot of progress on that one. All right, let me get this over to Andy. We get Andy. That is your news out of Iraq on the RV front. We've got a little more that we will share while Andy is on a bigger change. When I say bigger changes, I'm talking about the financial system, some changes, BRICS, payment rails, etc. So be prepared for that part. All right. We should have Andy in here any moment. And I'll just keep running. I'm going to take off the news time banner while we do it. Whew, I know it was coming fast. Let's see. Maybe I can sign up and get their payday AKY, right? All the ones that were just born. Lori says they use the LTV and love it. It really does seems to make a heck of a difference, especially coming in back from the heat or sweating. I do not think we have to wait for the PMF to be done before we RV. I think the push is on now in Iraq. I don't think they have much of a choice. They do. They've let us know they have 10 months worth of salaries, that this thing with Iran could go on another 10 months and they'd be okay. Yeah, BRICS is making big moves. All right, we've got Andy in, and that's going to be a great place to start on the BRICS part. I'm waiting for him to get his glasses ready. All right, no, he's ready.
Hey, Mark, how are you, dude?
I am good. How about yourself?
I'm great, thank you. Can't complain. What's going on, my man?
That slow juggernaut of progression for BRICS, Global South, commodities, new payment systems. BRICS are looking to connect their payment systems with digital currencies so they can trade in local currencies but cross-border.
Correct.
They just continue. Every time we turn around, they are taking another brick out of the control system.
No pun intended. No, there's some stuff to talk about regarding BRICS, and glad you brought it up. You know, that was my main focus for a very long time, and while I still focus on it an awful lot because I think it's very important, there are other things to talk about at the same time, but all of these other things, probably from the BRICS perspective, represent a distraction. You know, a lot of people say, well, you know, when's the dollar going to lose its status? And I think that's the wrong question. I think the question is, to your point, how much global trade can migrate away from the dollar? Because every new payment system, every new commodity exchange, every new settlement system, like in Hong Kong in yuan, reduces the demand at the margin. And none of these developments replace the dollar individually, but together, they are building a parallel financial architecture. And that's the story people should be watching. So we look at what they're talking about, excuse me, coming up for their next meeting in September in India. The first thing that they talked about was reaffirming plans to operationalize the BRICS grain exchange. And the goal is to create an alternative marketplace for grain trade. And they interviewed the guy behind this, and he said, I've said this before, but it's worth mentioning again, that he said, we produce and consume as much grain as they do in the north, in the west, rather, here in the global south. And but we can't control the price. That's controlled in Chicago on the Board of Trade. That will change with the BRICS grain exchange. He's acknowledging price manipulation on COMEX And this is the point. They understand that whether it be grain or any commodity, um, price discovery is something that I think they're really pushing towards, whether it be with the metals exchange in
Shanghai, Dubai, all those.
well in Dubai and in Singapore, they've just opened up same day settlement trade, right? Same thing with Shanghai, same day instead of futures. But in Hong Kong, same day in yuan. The others are all in dollars. When you open up another exchange in Hong Kong where there is a Brinks uh, uh, exchange, there's a Brinks vault there which represents an exchange for physical delivery point. So, in other words, you can take a contract in Chicago or New York and exchange it for physical in Hong Kong. Well, if you are stupid enough in the West to suppress the price of any metal on COMEX, and then the person who takes the other side of that contract is in China and says, you know what, send it to Hong Kong in exchange for physical, thank you very much, where there's an exchange that is same day settlement in yuan, which is setting a real price discovery, not this make believe stuff that the manipulation on COMEX, where they're able to trade 200 times the amount of deliverable silver every day. That's going to end. This is pushing towards price discovery. And I think this is the bigger story. It is price discovery. For decades, benchmark grain prices, benchmark metals prices have been established through the CME. And BRICS wants to create an alternative benchmark where a block representing, 50+% of human population and the majority, I mean, at least almost 50% of global grain production, the majority of all the gold mining and refining and all of this stuff. Remember, Chinese bought the LME, the London Metals Exchange. That's the base metals. And they have warehouses in China now that are stocking the metal that is being traded on the London Metals Exchange. They're doing this across the board. And what they came out and publicly said is that they want to reduce dependency on Western exchanges. They want to increase settlement in local currencies and gradually build a parallel system. But it's not just that, right? Because they also came out and said that they are going to, probably the biggest story is that they are going to move forward with BRICS Pay. They are integrating it slowly through the Belt Road Initiative, which is the genius part. I'll explain BRICS Pay in a moment. But the Belt Road is 75% of human population. And they're not in BRICS at all, right? They're very much aligned with BRICS, but to allow them to use BRICS Pay, which is basically a payment system that is outside of SWIFT. It's B2B, business to business, and B2C, business to consumer. So let's just pretend, Mark, instead of living in Puerto Rico, you live in Brazil. You were in one of the BRICS countries, and you want to go on a trip to Africa or to China. You can use your BRICS Pay card or your app on your phone and seamlessly buy wherever you are without having to worry about the rigmarole of switching currencies. So they said BRICS Pay is a very, very big part of what they want to do at the September meeting. And the goal is to allow members to settle trade directly in local currencies, bypassing SWIFT, reducing dependence on the dollar. And this is big. We've talked about they want to work on commodity price discovery, which is true. But they also came out and said that they confirmed, anyways, that they are finalizing plans for the BRICS Precious Metals Exchange, once again, to create alternative pricing for gold and other strategic metals outside of London and New York. And as this gains liquidity, it's going to become far more important than investors realize. And the last thing they talked about was local currency trade continuing to grow. And BRICS countries want to increase settlement in local currencies rather than in dollars. So I think it's important to understand no one's trying to eliminate the dollar overnight. And this is the little by little strategy. It's much more gradual. Reduce dollar usage when possible, while building the alternative infrastructure. And the summit is in New Delhi, 12th and 13th of September. So it's a big deal. On top of that, this is, China's done a lot to, they call it internationalize the yuan, but have no misgivings on this. This is all about building the rails for the BRICS, framed as industrial or internationalizing the yuan to not antagonize Trump. But the China just signed a deal with Africa's largest bank to settle trade directly in yuan. And that's important because China is already Africa's largest trading partner. So, I think the bottom line is that one trade agreement, one payment system, one currency settlement at a time, and you're beginning to see the tracks for a more multipolar financial system. They also just did something, I guess you could call it akin to the World Health Organization, basically, that they just, and the countries that were there, I think, are important to mention because, give me one second here. Two other things before I talk about the World Health Organization. On August 7th, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Pakistan signed the Mecca Joint Defense Agreement. And the most important part of this mutual defense clause is they claim an armed attack against any one of the three countries is regarded as an attack on all three. This is nuts. This is BRICS-esh, right? So you have Turkey, who is a NATO country and the second largest military in NATO as a NATO member. Second largest military in NATO. So they now have a collective defense commitment involving NATO and a separate agreement involving Saudi Arabia and Pakistan. Now, how those obligations would interact during an actual conflict in the Middle East could become really interesting.
Because it's almost like a backdoor into NATO.
Everything Saudi Arabia is doing is backdooring. They see it clearly, right? I mean, they're straddling both sides, as is India. But Pakistan is a nuclear armed state. Saudi Arabia, one of the most important oil producers. Crazy, right? And then the thing I was talking about, it's BRICS network of research in public health and health systems. And it's not like replacing the WHO overnight, but it's building layers, I guess you could say, of parallel infrastructure. They don't want to be told by the West. Think of the pandemic and the vaccines and shit. They don't want to be told by them what to do. They want to do it themselves. When I think about the countries that were involved, it's important. Here are the countries: Brazil, BRICS; Russia, BRICS; India, BRICS; China, BRICS; South Africa, BRICS; Egypt, Ethiopia, all BRICS; Indonesia, new member to BRICS; Iran, BRICS; Saudi Arabia, invited to BRICS, straddling the line. So they're coming to the meetings. They developed M-Bridge with the other countries. They're moving in that direction. And of course, United Arab Emirates, who left OPEC and is doing things a little bit differently, full member of BRICS. But again, the significance is not necessarily that they're trying to replace Western institutions. It's that the global South is gradually building optionality. And they're creating systems where they have more control over their own resources, over their own data, over their own supply chains, over their own strategic industries. And health cooperation is just another example of this. And when you see it's not just the BRICS 5 anymore, but 11 countries, they don't agree on everything, right? These countries, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and they've historically operated separately, but they're increasingly building shared infrastructure through trade, finance, energy, technology, health, monetary systems. And, it's happening, as to your point, brick by brick. And when nations begin building these alternatives, the question becomes, to me, what is the neutral asset that serves as the trust between these countries? They don't necessarily trust each other explicitly. Historically, there is only one, and that is gold. And this is why silver. I'll buy it, and silver. That's why you see them buying it the way they are.
It's one. I've noticed that it's my opinion as they settle things in commodities and they open these alternative exchanges, they're going to ruin the whole short, long leverage of commodities.
That's what they want to do.
Exactly. Now, going back to the BRICS things and the de-dollarization, the U.S. strangely enough has a love-hate relationship with the entire idea. For us to bring back manufacturing, we have to do that. We have to devalue our currency. We have to
That's right.
stop being the international currency. We need to be our currency for the American people, and the same of any country. And that's
Yes.
probably one to look at because I mean, it is. It's like the wolf. We got the wolf by the ears. You jump off. At some point, we have to jump off and restore manufacturing. It's like there's two different economies. There's the real economy, and then there's the white collar make believe economy. They love the system like it is.
Yeah, they do. But I think someone in this administration, God bless them, understands and finally figured out that you can't call yourself economically independent when other countries control the raw materials your military, your technology sector, and your industrial base depend on. I mean, how the hell can we do that? Not and the finished products. So yeah, you're right. This the only way to do this is to devalue the dollar tremendously quietly and to softly default on the dollar. Not only to make paying down the debt a lot easier, and when people don't understand, I don't think they quite understand. Well, paying it down in inflated dollars. Well, let's just go back where
Would you rather
1960.
pay $100,000 debt today than you would have paid that $100,000 debt in 1970?
Right. I was going to say in 1963 when my dad graduated college and my parents got married, my dad said, "Your mom and I lived comfortably on $6,000 a year, my first salary." And I'm thinking, there's not a chance in hell. If I were to take a trip right now to come visit you for a week and stay in a nice hotel in Puerto Rico, it's going to
Six
be way more
grand.
than 6 grand. Right. And they lived a year on it. And I Googled it, and the average salary in 63 was like 10 grand. So, okay, first job out of college, I buy it. So that's what they mean. It's like, what was $10,000 worth in 1963? It was a year's earnings. What's $10,000 worth today? And so when you talk about paying debt in inflated dollars, that's what they mean. So not only does it mean we can pay down our debt, it means we can reshore manufacturing and actually have a chance to sell it into a world where the dollar isn't the strongest currency in the world. This is Triffin's dilemma. This is the whole reason that I believe the BRICS and China in particular have no intention of being the world reserve currency. They don't want to
You don't
be
want to be.
because they see what happens to your manufacturing, but they want to build parallel systems where, hey, we can still trade in dollars if we want, but we can also trade in these systems and not be told by the West what to do. Same thing with their health. We don't want to be told by the WHO what to do. Same thing with, price settlement. We don't want to be told what the price is of these commodities, considering we produce more, we refine more, we manufacture more. We want to control things based upon what the real price is. And this is what it all boils down to, is that the West has had the ability to control everything. Interest rates, commodity prices, which is in essence, when you talk interest rates, the price of money, and all the world's commodities. And that's a big advantage. And they've used it to their advantage. The thing is that these BRICS countries are now motivated, coordinated, sophisticated, educated, and wealthy. And they have realized what's been done to them. And instead of bitching about it, they said, let's beat them at their own game. We will stand for delivery for every damn thing that we can, using the stupid prices that the West pretend are real in order to make their bond market seem stronger than it is and their currency seem stronger than it is. We'll win. We'll just siphon everything off until there is no more bid, meaning no one is going to sell it at these make-believe prices. And then bang, we will have already laid the infrastructure with vaulting, with payment systems and settlement systems. And guess what? Now it's real hard to go back to that stupid game because we have vaulting systems all around the world. We have payment systems that connect all of these countries without the purview of SWIFT. And now we have an exchange that will be same-day settlement in another currency. Go ahead, sell that offer that at that stupid price. Watch what happens. Watch how fast we arbitrage it over here. And so it's becoming one of these deals where little by little by little, they set up an infrastructure that it's like, holy crap, do you see what they built? You know, you talk about all of the ghost cities that they built in China, right? What would you rather have, ghost cities or AI build out infrastructure to the moon that is actually losing steam, and you could have all these data centers that just... So it's almost the same thing. They built ghost cities of data centers in this country instead of actual infrastructure. Now, I'm not saying one is right and one is wrong. I'm just simply saying that the Chinese are building infrastructure up the yin-yang. And it's not just ghost cities. It's payment systems. It's the rails of a new financial integration using gold to replace the treasury. Nothing is going to replace the dollar. No one wants to be the reserve currency. Triffin's dilemma says you'll never manufacture anything if you do, successfully anyway. So let's just have alternatives. Dollar can still be there for trade. You know, and then you talk about this horse shit that the reason so many people say, well, you know, they have the dollar will never be toppled because we have the greatest bond market, the most liquid rails, right? That's what you always hear. The most liquid asset amongst the most wonderful rails around the world for treasuries, right? So let's just talk about that for 1 second. You know, the media frames what we did to help Japan.
You knew I was going there with the whole yen carry trade.
Yeah, so we're bailing them out, right? We're helping them. But let's talk about that for 1 second, right? We've already showed the world that if you're on the wrong side of what we want, we're gonna sanction your treasuries. We're gonna freeze them, confiscate them, which in essence is default. We're gonna kick you out of SWIFT, right? So when they frame it as our largest holder, the largest holder of our debt, our ally, Japan, they're running into trouble and their currency is falling, which means rates have to go higher in Japan to compensate for a fall in currency, which would blow up the carry trade. So we're going to come in and we are going to help them, right? And Japan says, well, we have $1 trillion in treasuries. Now, what would the logical thing to do if they have to get dollars to buy yen? They want to buy yen to support the yen, right? So the logical thing would be sell your treasuries, right? And we then say, no. You can't sell your treasuries. You need to instead give them to us as collateral. We'll lend you the money. Because that's price discovery when you sell. When you lend it to us, we're just going to paper this over. We're going to lend you the money so you can buy yen to push up your currency. Because if you sell your treasuries into this marketplace, why, interest rates are going to spike. You could collapse everything. So how free and liquid is it when the biggest holders of the treasuries now have to sell based upon when we tell them it's okay to sell? In other words, do you see the problem? It's hypocrisy, it's stupidity, it's not critical thinking.
For us to be able to do that, for us to be able to loan them the money to prop up the yen means we have to print it, which is going to cause us more inflation.
So what's another way of saying this? Another way of saying this is it's called yield curve control. Now, if the Fed comes in and just prints money to buy the back end of the bond market, that's yield curve control. They don't want rates to rise. And if they cap rates, like a lot of people think they'll do, the pressure builds, and only if it normally would come out as higher rates. That's when the pressure releases. But instead, it's capped, so that pressure will come out the back door in the form of price inflation. You're going to see massive inflation. But the point of it is that it is yield curve control. In other words, they frame it as being philanthropic and helping our neighbor. The hell it is. It's keeping our bond market keeping our bond market from imploding. So when you talk about, a system, well, they can't challenge the West with the bond market they have that is so really. So the bond market's so liquid that our biggest holder wants to sell $50 billion worth of the $1 trillion they own. No, God, no, don't do it. It's all a bunch of stupidity. We've gone so far down the line through suppression of interest rates, which destroyed everything. You want to talk about one mistake? It was suppression of interest rates. When you suppress interest rates for as long as we have, you create massive distortions in asset prices. Massive. And distortions also misallocations of resource and capital. The company builds a new wing, hires 50, 100, 300 new people, buys a new building. You decide to get the Escalade over the Tahoe, even though they're built in the same factory. One's much nicer. But if I take a 72-month, no interest loan for the Escalade, I'll pay the same as if I'm doing a 4-year, a 60-month loan with Chevy. I'll get that one. It's the same price. So I have payments for an extra 2 years. Who cares, right? Well, that's all great until you lose your job. Or the 3% mortgage that we had a few years ago. I'll take that $3 million house instead of the $650,000 because if I can do it at these low rates, right? No, you can't when you lose your job. The point of it is that interest rates, the suppression of interest rates, incentivizes debt, distorts asset prices, and creates misallocations of resource and capital that they would never otherwise employ if rates were allowed to find symmetry based upon risk and return. That's what the market does. It says, well, there's a lot of risk, so rates should be here. And the Fed says, nah, we're going to cap those rates down here. So
we've reached a point where they don't have a choice as we're watching this all come apart around our ears. If they raise rates, the debt has gotten to such a level they can't meet the debt. If they control it, then they have to sacrifice the value of the dollar and they have to print in inflation. We've hit the end game. We're just watching.
You're exactly right.
Watching it play out.
It's a husband and a wife who started in opposite corners of the house, staining the floor. And they their backs are turned to each other, and they realize that they're now in the corner of the room together with their brushes. And there's just this little swath that they're in. They can't go that way, they're going to ruin the floor. They can't go that way, they're going to ruin the floor. If they lower rates, inflation roars, which leads to higher rates, which leads to the same problem. And what we have right now in this environment, this is the Cantillon effect, where the wealthy get wealthier. Why? Because the wealthy have the ability to take that money and buy assets.
Make believe for assets.
Right. If you have assets go higher in this environment, whether you're talking stocks or bonds or real estate or metals, whatever it is. And the people who don't have the ability to buy assets deal with a much higher cost of living and much harder just to make ends meet. And the crazy thing is all of that money you look at M2, it's off the charts. That's inflation, right? Inflation is an increase in the money supply. We are taught to believe that the consumer price index is inflation. No, that's the byproduct. That's the effect of inflation. Rising prices. They've got it backwards. They want us to believe that rising prices are inflationary. Well, they are, but printing money creates inflation. You are inflating the money supply, right? So when you take a look at the massive amount of money that is being created, much of that inflation that they're lying about, and they're even still talking, Warsh is talking about finding a way to minimize.
They're changing the definition.
They're changing the definition, right? So, but when you take a look at that, and you see all of the assets going higher, they're not calculated in the CPI. So all of this money that goes into financial assets isn't calculated. But what happens when people pull that money out and have cash to spend? Then you get the real world effect of price inflation in different sectors. All of this is very, very bad for low and middle income people. The wealthy get wealthier as their assets appreciate. This is the K-shaped economy. This is the environment we are heading into. And this is why if you save in dollars, you're holding a melting ice cube. If you save in assets, whatever that means to you, it doesn't have to just be gold and silver. Whatever that means to you, this is how you win. You hold assets that will appreciate in an environment where currencies are meant to depreciate, to your point.
Yeah, it might be you're saving your money in beanie babies, handguns, old cars, whatever it might be. Guitars.
The only thing I would say, and you're right, and there is a million different things, could be handbags, could whatever the hell it is.
Whatever it is.
Think liquidity also. So the one thing that gold and silver offer is liquidity anywhere in the world. You could take a gold coin and a beanie baby in each pocket and walk across the world. You're in the jungle in Africa. They'll understand what an ounce of gold is. A beanie baby, they'll laugh at. You could be at the on the Bahnhofstrasse in Zurich, in a rainforest in Panama. You could be in Moscow. You could be in Beijing. And 1 ounce of gold, no matter the language, people will understand it. That's why it is universal. That is why a diamond doesn't do anything for you. Not only did the diamond market tank because of lab
Oh,
grown,
geez.
but no one knows what it is when you look at it. Is it real? Is it fake? What's the cut? What's the color? What's the grade?
Diamond market's obliterating.
Right.
I mean,
But an ounce of gold is an ounce of gold wherever you are, you know? This is why I tell people to buy gold, because it's wealth. It's not an investment. It's wealth. That's the biggest money in the world is doubling down their accumulation on, and that's the central banks.
it's fascinating to watch the implosion in the diamond industry and the diamond market. I mean, it's never going to recover. Your diamond's never going to be worth what it was in the past.
So check this one out. I've talked a lot about my theory that Tether is involved with the government. I believe they are. I believe that was part of the deal.
To me, that's that is not a theory so much as a scientific truth.
Right. And I think they're buying gold on behalf of the U.S. government to keep the government at arm's length. Over the last 4 weeks, 701,000 ounces of gold Tether has bought. The crypto company buying more gold than anyone in the world, with the exception of the Central Bank of Poland. They bought more than China, at least that we know of. 701 times, call it, well, let's do the math. So in the last 4 weeks, they have bought, we'll use today's gold price of $4,450 times, what did I say? 701,000. $3,119,450,000 worth of gold they bought in the last 4 weeks. So, I mean, you start to see the people with the money closest to the information. I think they're working as a proxy entity to keep the world from understanding that the U.S. is doing the exact same thing. They're buying up all of this gold. If the U.S. was doing it directly, it would create a rush to it, and they don't want
the
that
U.S.
happening.
is quietly preparing for the collapse of the U.S. dollar, of the fiat currency. We're preparing for it. They can't do that out in the public, or it happens too fast.
Right. That's right. And, look, the world spent the last 50 years accumulating dollars and treasuries. And the question now is whether the next 50 years are about accumulating something that sits outside this system. And I think you're beginning to see that.
The great unwind.
Yeah, it is. It is, man. So I got time for about 2 questions, and I got to fly.
All right, I got to hit you with this one. As we're looking at that whole yen carry, whatever, I saw some startling numbers that perhaps about roughly 30% of all markets out there, private equity, like a combination, could be tied to that yen, where they have borrowed at negative interest, zero interest, or non-interest.
Of course.
And that is going to be almost a 30% reduction. This is maybe a doomsdayer out there, an extremist thinking that we could see almost a 30% reduction of money being pulled out of markets, which would cause a bigger correction than 30%.
Absolutely, dude. That's the thing, that you hit the nail on the head, because a lot of people only focus on selling treasuries. A lot of that money, when you borrow yen at zero, or their rates have been at zero or negative for the last 30 years. So you borrow at zero, you switch to dollars.
One time in the 90s, it creeped up over that and then went right back.
Right. Well, and so you borrow at zero, you switch to dollars and buy NVIDIA, and buy Apple, buy Bitcoin, buy treasuries. And what's really important to conceptualize is that for 30 years, this was a guaranteed, easy peasy trade, make gazillions. So borrow slowly over time, you keep borrowing and leveraging into other assets. So that's an orderly purchase. Everyone's doing it. It's orderly. It's flowing. Now, when you turn the tables and all of a sudden, bang, that door closes, how fast is everyone going to run out that door? It's like the Who concert back in the 70s where a bunch of people were trampled. That's what, God forbid, would happen. Everyone will get trampled trying to make it through that window at the exact same time. And that's the scary part. And the unwinding of this is exponentially more dangerous than the levering up of it, because of the speed in which it will unwind. And that's exactly true. Look, if you had hundreds of millions of dollars and you had the ability to borrow at zero in Japan on a trade that had been stagnant for years, borrow at zero, switch to dollars, and then buy whatever that you could buy treasuries at 4% and you're guaranteed to win. Or you could buy NVIDIA, or you could buy any of this stuff, and it keeps working and keeps working. Why not? There's so much money piled into that carry trade. But it's not just the rest of the world. It's the Japanese pension funds, too. It's Japanese investors. They'll borrow their own currency at zero and buy U.S. assets. So it's scary to realize the distortion in asset prices. Remember what I said at the beginning, when you screw with Mother Nature and suppress interest rates artificially, you create all of these distortions. Even the secondary and third and fourth effects downline. This is what happens when interest rates are messed with. And when Mother Nature says, no, 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 interest rates must normalize, well, then you got a problem.
If rates normalize to what they should be, then the debt spirals out of control and everything crashes. All they did was take the safety valve off. They said, that safety valve keeps blowing off steam. Let's just cap it.
And what's the worst part about all of this? A system based on trust, right? So the world says, ah, ha, ha, ha. So it really isn't a liquid market, and you really can't dump treasuries, because if you do, the whole system implodes. So if I were a heavy duty speculator, wouldn't you start to maybe poke at that theory and start, pushing them to see, is this a constant liquidity backstop? Are they going to continue to do this forever? And if they do, what does that mean to the value of the dollar? This is a much bigger thing. This is like, you could have a couple of drinks and start to let your mind open up, and then see.
I think we did that one time.
We did. Well, and you're beginning to see that right now. The transmission effect of this problem is happening right now, where the top four life insurance companies in Japan are sitting on 96 billion in unrealized domestic bond losses. This is the transmission mechanism of rising Japanese rates into the balance sheet of these insurance companies, who thought they'll never raise rates. So it's safe. So they put $100 billion into bonds that are now blowing up.
The number of municipalities, governments that would go borrow for free from the yen and then just invest it in their own municipal bonds. It's a mess. All right.
I got to run. I love you guys.
Well, I wanted to jump in and just say hello to Andy. And the whole time you were talking on that one, it just kept making me think of Ray Dalio. In terms of wealth is not the same as money, and that's where we're so close to that point.
JP Morgan, gold is money, everything else is credit. I must run. Send me the link. One of these Wednesday nights I'll jump on. Zester, you and I got to catch up too.
Yeah, I got a bunch of ideas on that.
Was that you? I just got an email. Was that you on his show?
No, I did not just send you an email.
No. I thought I saw your name pop up on Mike Adams' show, but someone else. I must run, you guys. Let's send it to me. I'll try my damnedest to come on tonight. I think
I'll send it to you because it'd be fun to talk about Rand Paul's visit to the.
Yes, I would like to do that.
And I'll need a drink for that.
Next week, I'm bringing my daughter to her first apartment in college. I'll probably try and get away and actually do it on my phone or something remotely. Okay. So I'm sure I'll be there next Wednesday. And then after that, I'm good. But send it to me tonight. I'll try to be there tonight.
Will do.
Love you guys. Peace.
Hey,
yep. God bless.
God bless. All right, guys. Friend of the stream and personal friend, Andy Schectman. He's part of the family now. Some big ones. I don't know. I mean, not all the news I got through today that I wanted to get through today. So maybe I get to drag you along before you get to deal with all the Clarity Act questions that Senate completely screwed the pooch on.
Yeah. No, we gotta talk about that one, where the next dates are looking, and then of course, I would just like to all of us should be extremely grateful gravity did not turn off for 7 seconds. We all survived. I don't know if you've got an opportunity to talk about that. Today's the day. It was earlier today.
Oh, crap. I guess I should have paid the power bill. Well, when the lights don't work later. I was really counting on gravity reversing.
Yeah. But no, today was the day. Today was the day. But no, I'll let you jump into the rest of your news, and then I'll be right here.
I don't know. I kind of like your opinion on some of these if you're willing to stick around. And on my signal, I've asked him the Basent one. He's familiar with, but there are a couple of people that he's become familiar with. I wouldn't say friends with, but that'd be a great one if we get him on whiskey tonight on my signal. Mm-hmm. All right. We do have some things that I think it'd be good to get your take on as we move forward, as I finish up some of the news and before I let you rip over. Iran rejects U.S. pressure, enters survival economy as mediators cite absolutely no progress. When I say they enter survival economy, they have said that they're not going to settle anything. They still have enough shipments of critical materials coming in. They may not be able to take care of their people, but they're just going to go in survival mode for their government until Trump is out of office. Is what they have what they came out in the last 24-hour news cycle and said. They're just going to sit this one out, and if the people have nothing, inflation through the roof, it really doesn't matter as long as the IRGC survives this one.
Yeah, they're executing continuity of government plans. The United States has the same exact ones. If the United States were ever pushed to a point,
that's why the government has a lot of bunkers.
Plans on the books to essentially sell us out in order to protect the American government. Yeah, and Iran has just executed their version of continuity of government. It's absolutely crazy. And the Iranian people, it's not a good time to be an Iranian.
No, not a good time to be Iranian. Your government just said F you without using fudge you.
And they can for an extremely long time, because no matter what, Trump and the United States, for very good reason, we are afraid to essentially actually cut the head off, because cutting the head off of the Iranian economy is bombing Karg Island, and it's destroying the oil and gas infrastructure in Iran, which, if we do, is going to create insane turmoil across Asia and Europe. And so ultimately, we kind of refuse to cut the head off of the IRGC, because by cutting their head off, they know that we are about to be in extreme troubles globally. The United States might be fine, but ultimately the United States would not be fine outside of North America.
Why Trump hasn't, or why the U.S. hasn't tipped their hand, if they just come out and said, rather than continued bombings or whatever, we're going to invest $20 billion in pipelines and roads, rail. We're going to do a rail to the coast from Iraq to Turkey, and another one to Syria, along with 2 major pipelines. And fine, Iran says you're going to sit this one out. Well, guess what? You're going to be absolutely immaterial, because all this infrastructure will be done. I still am waiting for that one. Just go ahead and announce it. Say, Iran doesn't want a deal. I'm sorry to the Iranian people. We're going to invest $20 billion, $100 billion, whatever it is, rather than spend it on bombs, missiles, and lost lives. We're going to spend it to build.
They kind of did already. I mean, when Iraqi Prime Minister was here, they announced the $60 billion package. That includes a pipeline that'll go and actually connect to Turkey from Iraq, and one that would connect to, I believe, the port of Damascus in Syria. Yeah. And so in that regard, I think that there's a lot more to read into that. If you combine the fact that for some, the United States is working with Iraq, trying to get rid of all the Iranian-backed militia groups inside of Iraq, which in my mind is necessary, because all of these pipelines that are being built are absolutely going to be the number one target of terror for any Iranian-backed group. And so to me, that's like putting, that's putting the cart behind the horse. They're just setting things up. And
also part of why we just saw, in my opinion, and Andy and I talked about it, the defense pact between Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Pakistan. They're absolutely preparing for just this outcome. They're not doing it publicly. If I were them, I would just go ahead and say, this is the intention, this is what we're doing, and I guarantee Iran would suddenly be at the table. Because they wouldn't have a choice. I mean, they're playing a bluff game, and somebody just needs to call the bluff. Just like they called US's bluff about willing to go in and ground troops and extra missiles. I mean, right now Iran called the bluff, and the US looks like an idiot. Yeah, but the reality is the opposite of that. If the U.S. would just call the bluff.
Yeah, and I don't know how the United States is going to be able to, because ultimately, I don't know. This one kind of went a little bit under the radar. Taiwan is currently executing some of its largest military drills, because Taiwan is under the impression that China is coming for them fast, which we've been hearing about that since flipping forever. We can go back and listen to that
or whatever for it.
That's one China. China's always believed that, but ultimately, the person that is putting the pressure on us to not cut off the head of Iran, and that Trump is essentially kowtow on purpose, is China. Over 80% of Iranian oil goes to China. If China stopped buying Iranian oil, there wouldn't be a problem. The vast majority of Iranians' resources that it's extracting are going directly to the country of China. Ultimately, that's got to mean that the pressure on Trump is coming from China. And that's probably why they're going to get more and more ballistic, and more fiery in regards to their verbiage on Taiwan, because they're essentially using that as an arguing tool in regards to trying to keep us from cutting off the head of Iran. They need Iran. China needs Iran. We don't
China
need
desperately
Iran.
needs to be Iran.
Yeah, China needs Iran. We don't. Europe, in many ways, does still need it because of where it's getting the vast majority of its oil resources from. Not because it's coming from Iran, but because it's coming from the Middle Eastern market, which means if Iran's source got cut off, prices are going to skyrocket in Europe.
We talk about all this oil and everybody's like, oh my God, the Middle East, they own us, whatever. Just remember, Texas by itself outproduces pretty much the entire Middle East by itself. One state.
Yeah.
I mean, so we've got to keep things in perspective there. I mean, they're like, here, hold my beer. You got nothing on this one.
Mhm.
Yeah, if China were smart, they'd be spending billions of dollars building their pipelines from Iran to China.
The
They
one
just got a
road,
much longer way to go.
Belt, one road initiative.
Yep. All right, we got a couple other fun things that I want to touch on and get your opinion. Don't worry about it. We will get to the Clarity Act, folks.
Mhm.
It'll be towards the end of it, though, unless you want to do the Clarity Act and then no. Let's do
No. We'll get through them and then we'll jump into crypto question and answer.
All right. Reports Trump was smuggled inside a container to avoid assassination threat. This one gets more than a little interesting. The left is out there going, oh my God, they switched him out because of credible threat. But they didn't save the journalist, the same journalist that leaked the change that required him to get off the plane. So the left is out there going, oh my God, Trump was willing to sacrifice the press for his own safety, and he fled like a coward in another plane. Of course, history is replete with examples like this. Bill Clinton did something very similar. Number of presidents. It's unfortunately you got to. It's a game, safety, misdirection, etc. So everybody thought that they smuggled them off the new Air Force One onto the old Air Force One and then flew them. No, that was the story. They actually put them on a third military plane, smuggled them back to the old Air Force One, and made it look like he came on the old Air Force One. So it was like deception within a deception, and the military and Secret Service decided it would be the best thing for his safety. And if they'd have told all the press, it wouldn't have done anything for his safety.
Mm-hmm.
So think about that as a journalist when you're out there spreading his travel plans and throwing them under the bus so that he's open for harm or possible assassination. Just remember, you're putting yourself on the crosshairs.
Yeah, I don't know where their uproar on that one is coming from. You leak the supposed to be unknown whereabouts of the president of the United States of America to potential threats. I don't think you've got anybody coming to keep you safe besides the people trying to off the president.
Yeah, and they're already willing to commit murder. So now you're in the spot. Trust me, they are perfectly okay if you die too. You're a martyr. You should be proud. Yeah, that's a story that's making rounds, and I just can't figure out the why. We do have some other fun stuff. California orders NGO serving as financial backbone for the Singham link. Marxism causes cease operations. Like even the Attorney General, it even went so far as closing down NGOs because, 50 million missing, 60 million missing. You guys aren't responsible. Financial money is going to all these. I love it. It's like you put it in front of their face until it's their idea. Like they're the ones going after the fraud.
Yeah, no, you know that it's blatant and that there was no way to hide it if you've got the California Attorney General actually pushing it. You know that there was no way to hide.
Yeah, sunset thrill. Now we've gone from, what do you call 100 dead attorneys, a good start? What do you call 100 dead journalists a good start? I mean, these are like dead baby jokes. They're horrendous. They're awful and often entirely too funny because of how horrible and awful they are.
Yeah.
All right. One last one to touch on before you talk clarity. A big upset, one I did not see coming, but it shows to me like a lot of people out there, woohoo, sanity's winning, at least on the Democratic side, they're going to say this. I don't look at it as like, like a half a percentage point difference here. David Crowley, the extreme, but not as extreme, or I guess it's making him look like a middle of the roader. David Crowley in the Democratic primary in Wisconsin defeats Democratic Socialist Francesca Hong, who was had the endorsements of just about Ileana Omar, Piker, Sean Piker, some extremely out there. He pulled off a great come from behind to win by like half a point. 39.8 to 39.4. Okay, 0.4%, less than half a percent win. Of course, Hong can call for a recount if necessary. But when we look at that, Crowley, he's liberal as all get out. As liberal as the current Wisconsin governor, more so, but not as extreme. He's not calling for the death of capitalists and Christians in the streets.
I think that the Democratic Party is finally starting to split itself up. There's the Bill Maher Democrats, and then there are the real far left. And yes, Bill Maher, if you went back a couple decades, he would have been far left.
He still is far left.
Now,
they just went so much
unfortunately,
further.
they've managed to move the spectrum so far that he's looking pretty darn moderate compared to the rest of them. And I think that when it comes down to it, there are some Democrats that are starting to wake up and smell the roses that they're going too far. But obviously not enough. AOCs and the like are still probably going to be running for president and in the coming years. But
well, that was... AOC came out this week and said that the DSAs, it's a step too far, talking about the candidates, the getting rid of the Senate and getting rid of the prison system. That's just too far. So even she's now coming out and saying these people that are trying to take control of our party are too crazy.
Look at those young upstarts.
Where is that level of crazy when AOC says you're too crazy?
Look at those young upstarts, those new new faces and new minds becoming just like the rest of the entrenched political class, as flexible as a reed in the wind. I was never a Democratic, so they are getting a little extreme.
Yeah, they're getting a little crazy. Yeah. Meanwhile, you were the crazy one.
Yeah. That's why you're folding up your hammer and sickle flag. Yeah, they are just absolutely getting crazy out there.
And my point is, they're touting the Democratic Party's like, no, we're not all crazy. Look at this huge win, 0.4%. That is not a huge win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anybody's allowed to call for a recount on that one. And Wisconsin's electoral system, it's been questioned in the past, is all I'm going to say about that one. But they're touting this as a return to sanity in the Democratic Party, 0.4%. Now, if it were a landslide, if he won by like 80%, then yes, I will buy their argument. But their argument doesn't hold much sauce at 0.4%.
And actually, I have something interesting on that one, because we actually got some information on the Clarity Act that came out from the Democrats, and it actually kind of ties together with some of the different messaging, because turns out the Democrats have something very, very odd going on. I don't know if you want to talk on that one more. I could jump onto that one in the crypto.
No, jump on it. Have at it.
All right. And so on that one, of course, guys, we did not get the Crypto Clarity Act passed by the end of last week. It's been kicked to until the Senate comes back, and so that would be September before we're going to get another opportunity. But we did get some information about what the heck happened. Why was everybody swearing we were going to get a vote on it, even if it was just a cloture vote, in order to keep things moving along, and then we never did? Well, turns out we ended up getting the answer on that one, and it turns out that the Democratic Party refused to vote on it and would not push forth the rest of the different pieces of legislation, like the government funding bill, if they were forced to take that cloture vote on the Senate floor for the Crypto Clarity Act. And so, Pops, I'm going to yank up on screen here real quick, just so...
You got my screen. It's yours now.
Yeah, don't scare you as that pops up. But so we actually finally found out Crypto Democrats are ghosting the industry. Senate punted the vote on the crypto industry's top priority to September, which, needless to say, does not necessarily bode well for it getting passed in September with midterm elections and everything coming up. But the Democratic leaders insisted that there not be a vote on the Crypto Clarity Act, or they would not bring the Democratic senators to a vote for things like continuing the funding of government and the rest of the different legislation that was on the docket going into the August recess. Their reasoning for this was because of the midterm elections. The Democratic senators refused to have a vote on the Crypto Clarity Act because they did not want to paint a target on their back going into the midterm elections. And so we had talked about that, I think, actually on the Wednesday of last Wednesday, where the crypto industry was pushing very, very hard to try and get a cloture vote because crypto lobbies have billions and billions and billions of dollars that they've been holding on the sideline because in backdoor conversations behind the scenes, apparently, and this is coming from the crypto lobbies, they were promised by the Democratic Party that there was no problem. This was just political shenanigans. This didn't have anything to do with it. They were going to come out and support the crypto industry, keep giving us crypto lobbying dollars, keep funding our campaigns. We're here for you, crypto industry. Well, that's what they were telling the crypto lobbyists behind the scenes the entire time. They backstabbed the crypto lobby last week. The Democratic Party backstabbed essentially the entire cryptocurrency lobby. They insisted while they were telling the crypto lobby that they were going to vote. This is just political shenanigans. That's why we kept being told, oh, the vote's going to happen. It's not a big deal. Vote's going to happen. Vote's going to happen. We kept hearing it from both Democrats and Republicans. That was a lie. The Democrats had no intention of actually having that vote. They were just telling everyone that they intended on voting before the August recess. And their entire reasoning was because of the upcoming midterm elections. Democrats were planning on voting against the Crypto Clarity Act on account of Donald Trump making so much money in crypto. That is such a rallying call amongst the Democratic voters and sponsors and donations. That ended up being their reason. And so I guess it all ends up actually making a little bit more sense now. Now that we know this and we know what was actually going on in the back, in terms of the backroom conversations, now suddenly it makes sense why in these past weeks coming up to the deadline for the Crypto Clarity Act, we kept hearing, well, we're going to get a vote. We're going to get this cloture vote. We're going to get this cloture vote. Don't worry about it. We're going to get the cloture vote. It's because the Democrats were telling the Republicans that they were absolutely happy to vote for it. And the Democrats were telling the crypto lobby that they were absolutely happy to bring it onto the Senate floor for a vote, even though they had no intention of that ever actually occurring. And so on that one, Pops, it made me think as you were talking about the overall election numbers and looking at the Democratic primaries, that just made that story from the crypto side immediately pop into my head. The Democrats are in a full-on scramble.
Yeah, they're busy out there claiming that they're going to destroy Republicans, et cetera, out there screaming, oh, but the polls don't hold up to that. They're funding problems. But, unless conservatives, Republicans take the reins, they're right. It's not going to make any difference, but it's going to require us going, I can't believe they screwed the crypto industry. Us taking to social media, hey, look, a 0.4 win. They barely beat crazy. We got to point all this out. Mm-hmm. We do not get to be lazy coming into this midterm. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd love for military to step in, fix everything, not have have real candidates. I want all those things too, people. But until then, we got to keep fighting the good fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. Because this midterm, it is going to be rife with attempts at cheating. And with extremely shady business. The Democratic Party does not have a current plan or platform. There is none. They've entirely lost.
That is their plan. That's their plan.
when you're running in a political campaign, at this scale, and you do not have a platform, that means there's nothing to go out there and support. There's just things to go out there and tear down, and extremely lofty, impossible things to support. Yeah. Oh, if I get elected, I'm going to give everybody, a free house and everything else. Sounds like I'm on Donnie.
Free chickens, every pot, you name it.
Yeah.
No free chickens because they balk. No, I mean, I'm gonna give you engineered chicken meat grown in the lab along with engineered butter made out of chemicals or something. Oh, margarine.
Mm-hmm.
On somebody just said, just let us vote directly on policy. That is something that I would love to have a website that does. All it does is track legislation and shows the people exactly what's in it, makes it easy to find, easy to access what they're voting on, shows them all the pork. Heck, if all you did was use AI to break it down. I mean, a legislative watcher, add that to the MarkZ website. I don't know what'd be involved, probably a nightmare, but
actually, I'm pretty certain I could add legislative watch. I could just yank the entire schedule and docket from the Senate and Congress website.
So yeah, that would be an easy place to access the legislation so they can read it.
Yeah, well, I could make it pull the link. And so, I bet we probably could actually have that one. Because remember, we have that same exact thing currently going on the MarkZshow.com actually for financial news. So we've got a calendar over there on the website that will tell you all the different days when we're going to get CPI data information, when we're going to get into monetary supply information, when we're going to get all of that. It's on there actually. And so I could totally add in legislation, a legislative tracker.
We got some bouncing around here to do on subjects because I see another one I want to do after this one.
Well, I know there's a bunch of other crypto ones right now, but yep. Patriot asked, why do Bitcoin and XRP chart lines go up and down almost exactly? People can't be buying / selling the same amounts of both at any given time, can they? That is an awesome question.
It is. Good
Patriot.
question.
And it digs in to one of the core facets of the cryptocurrency markets, at least for the past 16 years. And so the reason why on that one, Patriot, really goes back to actually some of the earlier days of cryptocurrency and the way that the liquidity pools are established. And so essentially, Patriot, how we're valuing cryptocurrencies on a regular basis in forms of dollars. And so we say that one XRP is worth $1.01. Okay, that's how we view it because it's easy for us to understand in dollars. We're used to them, we get it. And so we view them that way. But how the blockchain and how the technology, the smart contracts are actually set up, especially in decentralized finance, how these liquidity pairs, how I trade between Bitcoin and XRP, well, that is the large reasoning that they're tied together, Patriot, because essentially everything is not denominated in dollars. It's denominated in what percentage of a Bitcoin is it. And so like an XRP Bitcoin trading pair, there's a certain amount of XRP are equal to one Bitcoin. And so it's not actually being denominated on the smart contract side or in terms of how the markets are being made and operated. They're not actually being valued in dollars. They're being valued in portions or units of each other. And I hope that I did not just make that even more confusing in my explanation. But essentially, Patriot, the market is very much tied to Bitcoin because of the nature of how trading in cryptocurrency exists and operates. That trading pair is actually pegged to to the Bitcoin, not to $1. We just view it in dollars. And so, Patriot, the entire market is essentially very much tied to Bitcoin in terms of with the direction that it goes. Bitcoin goes up, you're most likely going to see the entire market go up with it. Bitcoin goes down, you're most likely going to see the entire market go down with it. At some point in time, and this has always been kind of a foretold thing that will eventually occur, especially with the Genius Act that passed last year and with the way that the market is evolving. We're going to start seeing the decoupling of the other cryptocurrencies from Bitcoin. And so I do expect in the future, Patriot, that this is not going to be near as much of a guarantee. But as of right now, and as it has been since the beginning of time in cryptocurrency, we are essentially all tied to the value of Bitcoin, because that is what we're actually trading against and for. We're trading XRP for Bitcoin. We're trading Bitcoin for Ethereum. We're trading Ethereum for XRP. We're not trading dollars for Bitcoin. And that is where it all really comes in. And so, and I think that I just made that more confusing than I need to. I might need to try and go through and simplify that one. But I hope that helped, Patriot. Essentially, it's because we're actually denominating, or the parity is with another cryptocurrency.
It's kind of like the dollar. Everything's priced in dollars around the world.
Yeah. And we view everything as priced in dollars. But what's really happening in cryptocurrency is that people are exchanging one coin for Bitcoin, or Bitcoin for another token. And that's how the trading is actually occurring. And that's how the valuations are actually getting to the price points that they are.
No, look, number of people saying no, that makes good sense.
All right, I hope so. I hope
you did all right.
That one gets into a very complex part, and so I think most often, and this is probably a criticism of both myself and many other folks in the cryptocurrency space. We very regularly get lazy on that one, and we just say they're pegged. We're not going to explain it. Just know that they go in the same direction. And so I think that question needs asked more, and that answer it needs told far more often.
It's kind of like silver market. Silver goes up when gold goes up. They go up almost lockstep. Yes, there are some differences here and there based on like a big silver find, gold find, or something like that. But
yeah,
overall, they go lockstep.
But it's one of those ones where, regardless of logic or explanation, if Bitcoin is going up, and you were told to gamble your money, and what direction would you put your money on the other cryptocurrencies going? Safe money would say that the rest of the market's going to go up with it. Same thing if Bitcoin is going down. And a very similar thing occurs when Bitcoin is trading sideways. Typically, the crypto market actually trades sideways. There are a few different situations that can occur that can change that logic, and those are those unique type things, but those are the exception that prove the rule, in my opinion.
Yeah, total not crypto related one. Somebody had made the comment about not voting for rhinos, or the America First crowd. You need to take a page out of it. You want real power. The reason why the black vote doesn't have much power is because they refuse to step outside of the Democratic voting bloc. It's a blind vote. The MAGA Republic, same way, it's a blind vote. When you step out of that, you're willing to vote on a person or a policy instead. That's when you get real power. The Hispanic vote figured this out and step large scale away. Now, suddenly the parties have to actually talk to them and flirt with them. You don't get to just take their vote for granted. Black males started this in the last two elections as well, stepping outside of it. Some females too, but they finally are figuring out how much more power they would have if both parties like, wait a minute, we actually have to produce for you to get your vote. The Make America Great ones are the same way. The America First folks, you're the same way. When the parties figure out they actually have to do something, that's when you get your power. When the rhinos figure out they don't have that, unless they actually produce, then the whole thing changes.
And to go further on that one, in terms of how true it is, it's taught in political science. And so when you're going through, at a college level, a political science major, going through 300 level political science and et cetera, we would regularly go through and we would look at demographic voters. And so what happens to those demographic voters that essentially always vote? So this is back in, things have changed a little bit since back in, 2013. But so back at that point, when we would go look through the statistics, the Jewish vote is a guaranteed Democrat vote. Guaranteed Democrat vote. Used to always be a guaranteed Democrat vote. Over 90%. If a person designated themselves or allocated themselves as Jewish, pretty much it was a guarantee. So what did the Democratic Party never do?
Spend any money, any legislation
for the Jewish community.
Don't need to.
The same thing occurred when back then looking at Asian community. Asian community, over 80+% are going to vote for the Republican Party. What did Republicans never do? They never did anything for the Asian voters. And that was never a major reach out. And so it's a guarantee. It's taught in political science. And you're taught when you're going through and you're spending political ad dollars, when you do some of those little, when you do some of those little in-class experiments, you're taught. You're given like a certain amount of money to spend on ad campaigns, and you're taught to essentially pick where you're going to spend that money. And so what is the wrong answer? The wrong answer is I'm going to spend that money advertising to people who are already going to vote for my party. And so you're not going to be looked towards. It's taught in political science, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, no, it is. You got to turn it on its ear.
Yeah.
If you want to affect real change, you got to turn it on its ear. Zester, the SEC vote on Friday helped the Clarity Act.
Oh, well, actually, the SEC has gone ahead and done more than that. And so the SEC is actually poised to unveil. Let me pull back up my screen on that one for just a second. Because actually, the SEC is going ahead and enacting the rules from the Crypto Clarity Act without the Crypto Clarity Act actually passing. And so SEC is preparing to go ahead and release essentially the entire the entire framework for a lot of the different cryptocurrencies from their standpoint. And so Atkins outlined an interim approach in February. Their joint Project Crypto initiative includes work on token classifications, potential exemptions that could permit certain on-chain transactions under clearer federal requirements. And so we're expecting to get a major announcement from the SEC in regards to essentially going ahead and putting a lot of the Crypto Clarity Act into action without the legislation having actually passed. And so, yeah, there's a lot to look forward to on the SEC side. And so that could end up being particularly positive on just continuing to keep this progress of moving towards the new blockchain system, rolling at a steady pace. And it seems as if the SEC and the CFTC are both on the same page on this one. They are planning on going ahead and enacting everything they can from a regulatory body standpoint from the Crypto Clarity Act. If they're allowed to do it, they're going ahead and doing it. And so I am looking forward to that SEC announcement this week for certain. Now, how it's going to work for the Clarity Act, though, more of Grace, I in that regard, I think that it's just going ahead and establishing and putting into practice the Clarity Act, which in my mind just makes it, well, it can be a little scary because there is, I guess, the fear that essentially where we're going to get to a point where our legislators are going to be like, oh, well, we don't have to do anything about it now. It's not as important. The SEC and the CFTC went ahead and got a lot of it done. Of course, there could be that fear, but I would actually look at it from the opposite side. I think that the more of the Clarity Act that gets enacted before the bill actually passes and is signed into law, I think it only increases the pressure to get the bill passed. Less and less reason for the Democrats to continue fighting. But right now, it seems obvious from what we got since the deadline passed that the Democrats just have no intention of making this thing happen before the midterm election. I don't know whether that is going to change or not. What they are saying in crypto lobby groups, money has actually started moving. And so the crypto lobby appears to be going ahead and just assuming the entire Democratic Party is against them. I think that may end up being a major influence on whether the Democrats shift from this stall tactic in September to feeling like they have to come out and put out a vote on the Clarity Act. I don't know. That one's going to be very, very interesting to see which way that one ends up turning. But we know now already that crypto lobbies have already started sending the money. Now, which exact politicians are going to be receiving all of that? I'm not certain, but we can guess that the opponents for pretty much every one of the extremely vocal Democrats on the cryptocurrency side, their opponents are getting one heck of a boost to their campaign funds right now. All right. Oh, Zester, Apocalyptic Caveman. Zester, can you drop that link or post it in today's links, please? Or I can find it. If not, which one of those was that one? The Apocalyptic Caveman. If it was this one, I'll go ahead and put that one in there.
Okay. I was gonna say, if not, we can do both. We'd include them in the daily links as well if they want.
I definitely can also. I can also add those on to it. All right, looking for more questions on that front. I do have a little bit of other news coming in from the cryptocurrency side. We did hear from the White House. Trump administration fully committed to pass the crypto bill in September, so saith Patrick Witt. Trump administration remains fully committed. Senator Cynthia Lummis pushed back against community banks' concerns that stablecoins drive deposit flight. I mean, they absolutely do drive deposit flight, but you fight for it, Senator Cynthia Lummis. And so, according to Patrick Witt, and this came out yesterday, the Trump administration is going to continue pushing full steam on the Crypto Clarity Act as soon as the Senate gets back into session. And so nothing has wavered on that side. Trump remains fully committed. Now, what we are looking at essentially, guys, and so the story that never ends, we've got yet another date. Crypto Bill Clarity Act. The date has moved to September 15th now for the Senate showdown on that one. Of course, everything on that one did not occur by the August 7th deadline, but here is where we got that information. Senator John Thune told reporters that Democrats insisted on no vote. And so that is the reason that we ended up getting there. Essentially, Thune had to make a decision about whether he was going to get the Democrats to vote on absolutely anything, or if they were just going to railroad absolutely every piece of legislation for the final week before the recess. And apparently Thune capitulated essentially to the Democrats' demands on that one. I guess he viewed the other legislation as being important enough to necessitate it.
Instead of doing the right thing and forcing the vote and letting them die on their own sword, he wimped out. Thune's useless in my book.
Well,
I wish I could say something positive about the man, but I got nothing.
Apparently, and this is coming from him because at least this is what is being shared. Apparently, Thune was informed by the Democrats that it was not happening on Friday morning. Not on Friday morning, on Wednesday morning, when he was supposed to. Because remember, the cloture vote requires 48 hours. So if we were going to get a cloture vote on Friday, we were going to have to get it put forth by Thune for the cloture vote on Wednesday. Apparently, and this is why on Tuesday, Thune came out and said, oh, we're going to have that cloture vote on Friday. I've talked to everybody. Everything is hunky-dory. Apparently, he walked in Wednesday morning and he was informed that if they wanted to have any votes, they would not be voting on the Crypto Clarity Act. And so I guess at that point, it's not like he could have forced it still.
He should have walked in and said, he should have immediately gone in front of the press and said, the Democrats informed me that we will get no votes if I force them to vote on the Crypto Clarity Act, and put it right there in front of them and let them die on their own sword. At some point, you got to start calling BS.
Yeah.
Let's get along to get along stuff is the dumbest, most ignorant, narrow-minded, short-sighted crap I've ever heard in my life. And it's standard practice. in DC. It's in the world in which we don't want to offend anybody. It's standard practice all over the world now. Don't want to be confrontational. Let's just get along. Meanwhile, you look all over our social media and everybody's just confrontational. It's the craziest state of humanity right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, we are in an extremely weird time. I keep hearing everybody, going all over the place, but we came essentially we at least for me, I felt like I grew up in the age of information. We had easy access, immediate access to essentially any bit of information around the planet, and now somehow we've evolved from having the opportunity to know everything to somehow deciding that we are going to intentionally be as ignorant as possible. We have all the information, all the abilities to be the most knowledgeable, well-informed human beings in all of human history. And yet somehow we're going in the opposite direction.
We don't have to go in the opposite direction.
No.
I mean, just remember, guys, when somebody makes the argument that and the elites out there, like, yeah, we can't let it up to the people they, to some degree, they have a point. Remember that the average grown adult in this country doesn't even read at a high school level.
Oh,
and we're not like dumbing it down because the number of young people know. The average adult reads at a middle school level.
Well, and this is a conversation though that we've been having. The founding fathers, read the Federalist Papers. The founding fathers argued over direct and representative democracy for a long time. And we had certain founding fathers that believed that we, the people, were capable, and we had others that weren't. They did not believe, and you can guess. I bet you can guess the ones that did think it. Thomas Jefferson thought that we had the ability. Madison was pretty certain that we're all morons.
Yeah, no. When you study the founding fathers, it gets interesting.
The Federalist Papers, for everyone that has not actually taken the time to go through it, it is not as boring as it looks. There is a lot of high school nitpicky drama in there. If you ever get some time, guys, definitely consider jumping into that one.
Or the number of founding fathers challenge each other to duels.
Since the beginning. Ultimately, we ended up going with representative, not direct.
Yeah. Any more questions you want to tackle? I still have to sing happy birthday at some point this morning, but I do not want to take away because I know you had to cancel on them on Monday. So if they want to keep quizzing you on crypto, I have at it.
I don't want to keep you, keep it going too crazy long, but I'll let everybody get a few more questions in while I cover one last article, and then I'll hand it off to you. On this one, and so the largest holder of Bitcoin out there on the planet, MicroStrategies, publicly traded company owned, operated. I guess that's really operated by the infamous Michael Saylor. And so he has been in this space for a long time. You guys have heard about MicroStrategy. You've heard Michael Saylor. Hey, if you haven't heard his name a million times, you've seen the memes of him with the laser eyes popping out. That's regularly been used for different things in the cryptocurrency space. Well, MicroStrategy is a publicly traded company that has a dividend-bearing stock. And so for years and years and years, MicroStrategy has been buying Bitcoin, and really they created the idea of having a company that was essentially nothing more than a giant Bitcoin reserve. And so this worked very, very well for many, many years. Essentially, MicroStrategy would go out and they would sell preferred stock options or sell stock. And people in traditional finance who wanted to have exposure to cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, but didn't want to go out and buy cryptocurrencies and hold them themselves, well, this would allow them to gain exposure to the cryptocurrency markets, to the potential gains in valuation of Bitcoin without actually going and buying it, and also allow them to start collecting and earning dividend rewards. And MicroStrategy's dividend payments were very, very high. So That is what happened since, 2016, all the way up until 2026. During that time, MicroStrategy's only ever bought Bitcoin. They never sold Bitcoin. They bought Bitcoin. And they were capable of continuing to pay their dividend by payouts. And they were capable of essentially keeping the stock price fairly stable. Essentially just because of how much money they had made by collecting and storing that much Bitcoin for that long. And because of an insane amount of speculative buying that was occurring on MicroStrategy shares. Now, this year, MicroStrategy could no longer continue that. With the drop in the overall cryptocurrency markets and with the increasing burden upon the company of those dividend payouts that they were having to pay out to all their preferred stockholders and all their regular stockholders, well, they had to start selling Bitcoin. This terrified the cryptocurrency markets because MicroStrategy has over 800,000 Bitcoins. We're talking one metric buttload of Bitcoin. We are talking one metric buttload of billions of dollars. And so it was always a fear. Well, needless to say, twice this year so far, MicroStrategy has sold Bitcoin. Now, they have typically sold thousands of Bitcoin in one go. That's a buttload of money, but it's a very small percentage of what they actually hold. This is their first announcement that they plan on stopping. And so MicroStrategy CEO Michael Saylor says company will resume Bitcoin accumulation this year. The company has bought roughly 25 times more Bitcoin than it has sold this year, despite recent sales that challenged its long-standing accumulation strategy. And so business plans to resume accumulating Bitcoin later this year, even after shifting business priorities prompted it to sell portions of its holdings and moves that drew scrutiny from the market. Elise said Strategy had purchased around 175,000 Bitcoin since the beginning of the year, while selling roughly 7,000 Bitcoin, making the company a significant net buyer, which is entirely true. But this has been a very large fear in the cryptocurrency community for not just the past year, but honestly for many years. Because of the amount of Bitcoin that MicroStrategy holds, it's always been considered a potential catalyst for a major cryptocurrency market sell-off if MicroStrategy were ever to have major financial problems. And so that is, while it seems like a very small thing amongst many folks in the cryptocurrency community, this is seen as a very, very good sign that MicroStrategy is no longer in as bad of financial straits. You can think about this one, I guess, in the same way that, if you were renting a house and then you found out that the landlord was in extremely, extremely bad financial straits, you might be worried about your rent. You might be worried you might not have any place to live, and you start looking at other places. I guess that could essentially be the way that you could look at the metaphor on this one and the way that people were looking at it. If MicroStrategy is in bad financial straits, what would you might consider doing? You might consider selling all of your MicroStrategy shares, which could potentially start to massively influence the value of MicroStrategy, which could then result in MicroStrategy having to sell Bitcoin, which of course is then just going to turn into a self-fulfilling prophecy. That's always been essentially the giant fear myth. And so many people are feeling far better now, knowing that MicroStrategy is no longer in as bad of a financial situation. They obviously have sold enough. According to their information, MicroStrategy is now capable of continuing to pay out their dividend payouts on both preferred and regular stock for the next 3 years without having to sell any Bitcoin. So I wanted to cover that one because I thought that was an interesting one for everyone to hear about. And it is viewed as good news. Essentially good news that they're not in as bad of a situation as some folks had feared, because we all, as cryptocurrency holders, would have essentially suffered if MicroStrategy was doing a particularly bad job with their books. All right, though. There you go. Bobby Lay. Somebody needs to start a crypto called the Carrington coin. Only a Carrington event away from collapse. Hey, that one's pretty good. That one's pretty good. Mark Campbellong. Do we need a wallet to buy XRP? Mark, no, you don't. No, you don't. But let me continue on that one just a little bit more. And so, Mark, you don't need a wallet in order to buy XRP. All you need is essentially an account with a cryptocurrency exchange. And so that would be a exchange like Coinbase or Gemini or Kraken or Crypto.com. I always recommend Gemini or Coinbase. I know that people have had issues with them. They are, they are tech companies. And so that means that occasionally there's bugs and such. But those are the ones that I use on a regular basis. They are as user-friendly essentially as it can get right now. And so, Mark, you don't need a wallet to buy XRP, but in order to store your XRP long term and in order for you to be the person who is actually holding that XRP, not your keys, not your crypto type deal, you are the one who's actually the custodian of your XRP, you will need your own wallet in order to do that. And so, Mark, you can go and you can buy Bitcoin on Coinbase, and it will sit there on Coinbase, but it's sitting inside of Coinbase's wallet. And so there's nothing wrong with that if nothing bad ever happens at Coinbase. And I regularly have, a couple $100 sitting on an exchange and I don't worry about it. But when I'm buying crypto that I plan on holding long term, I highly recommend getting it off and onto a wallet that you own and you are the only person who has control of. But don't do that in a rush. Don't do that in a rush. I do not sit there and panic because I have $500 on Coinbase. I don't. It's fine. It'll sit there. It'll be just fine. But if it were more than that and it was crypto that I'm planning on holding for the long term, then I would no longer want it to be on Coinbase. I'd want it to be on my Ledger hardware wallet. Where I am the custodian of it and no one can take it away from me or deny me access. Say Coinbase or an exchange has a technology problem. Say they get hacked. Say they have a financial issue. Whatever it may be. Then if I was keeping all of my crypto in Coinbase, I'm going to get caught up in all of that crap. And I didn't cause it. I didn't do it, but my money is going to be a part of the problem, and I'm going to have to figure it out. If I've got it on my wallet, it doesn't matter. I will always have access to my cryptocurrency as long as I maintain my words and I maintain all the information and passwords that I have to. And so on that one, highly recommend starting first with an exchange. So get yourself an account on an exchange, put a very small amount of money in, $10, and learn a little bit about it. Buy $10 of crypto and send it somewhere. I have a great video on that one. I call it like I forget what the name of that video is on the Crazy Cryptonaut channel. But it's something to do with essentially the $10 theory that I put together on that one. And so, nope, you don't have to get it. But Mark, you do want to start looking at getting a wallet as you move forward. John T. Cycling, exactly. So where's the safest way to obtain XRP? I buy XRP regularly on Gemini Exchange. I have absolutely no problem doing so. You can even set up on Gemini where it will just buy $100 of XRP every week and put it into your account, and you don't even have to do anything about it. I have bought XRP on Coinbase. Now I'm buying my XRP on Gemini, but it is very, very easy and very, very safe to go through it that way, John, as long as, you keep your passwords and everything safe. Two-factor authentication, definitely when you're setting up accounts. I highly recommend, guys, whenever you see the ability to have two-factor authentication, I would recommend to everyone that you consider an authentication app, something like Google Authenticator. Those things do still have potential security flaws that could occur. But One that is highly recommended to avoid is email confirmation or text message confirmation. Text messages, because it is extremely easy to spoof someone's phone number. Far, far, far too easy. And so I would recommend always using two-factor authentication. And if you can, use more than two. And always, 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 and this is coming from the guy, that this is coming from the crypto guy. When you write down passwords, words, everything of that nature, nothing is ever going to beat a pen and a piece of paper. Do not save any cryptocurrency information on your phone. Do not save it on your computer. Do not save it in your email. Do not save it anywhere. Do not save your password or words anywhere besides pen and paper. If you're craftsy and you know you potentially have a CNC machine, get out there and put it onto a titanium plate. Make it physical. Don't make it digital. And so when you're writing down your password to your cryptocurrency wallet, or you're writing down your 12 or your 24 words, your secret words, the most important part of holding a cryptocurrency wallet, write them physically down and store them in places only you have access to, or people who you trust with your entire finances. And so, remember that in that regard, that when it comes down to it, you are the ultimate guardian of your financial future when you move over to cryptocurrency, and especially when you move over to owning your own wallet. Gumbo, I set up a MetaMask a long time ago and never went back. Is that a compatible app? I'm clueless. Well, actually, what you set up, Gumbo, is when you set up MetaMask, you actually set up what's known as a software wallet or a hot wallet. And so these are wallets where you hold the keys to it. So you hold the secret words, but they are actually on the internet. And so essentially a hot wallet like MetaMask is perfectly usable. I've used it tons. I use it still to this day when I'm connecting to decentralized finance, or I'm doing things, that I want to use a separate wallet on, but it is a hot wallet. And so it is not anywhere close to as secure as a hardware wallet or a cold wallet, like something like a Ledger or a Trezor or a Tango. And so, Gumbo, that MetaMask is useful. It is a tool. You can store cryptocurrency there. I have MetaMask wallets. I probably have lost some of my MetaMask wallets. I have so many of them. It's a great application for what it does. But I would not highly recommend keeping all of your cryptocurrency in a hot wallet. Most definitely not. But there's things you could absolutely use it for. All right. Zester, can you drop a link to the Gemini exchange? I absolutely can. And so, as a matter of fact, I think I actually have that one in, I do. And so, I'm just going to post the Crazy Kryptonite link tree, right there. And so, actually, anybody that does want to check out that one, just to make certain you don't go to the wrong place, that one actually has a link to Gemini. It is the Gemini link, actually, that will take you to the card. Sign up for the XRP card, but you don't have to sign up for the card. You could just click, I want to create an account. And actually, the card and your cryptocurrency account are all inside of the same application. But at least that way, John, you should actually get some free crypto by signing up for Gemini through that link. Always got to get the free crypto. When all these different services give those different opportunities, I'm a sucker for that. I will totally sign up for another cryptocurrency exchange account in order to get a free $50. Totally. Okay, Midnight Smokers. Zester, the French company that you like, has a program to purchase them and pick up at Best Buy. Thoughts? That's a great question, Midnight Smoker. And so the company that he's referring to is Ledger. And so once again, actually on the link tree, I've got a link over to Ledger wallets. And so this is a French company. Yes, Ledger hardware wallets are made in France, factory in France. Midnight Smoker, I recommend buying them actually through the website and having them delivered to you. The reason being on this one, Midnight Smoker, is that how they are shipped with tamper-evident sealing directly from the factory to your door. They don't charge you any extra for doing that. And so in that regard, I think it's just easier to actually just go through and have it delivered directly to you. It hypothetically should touch less hands, potentially spend less time sitting out where somebody who, could be up to no good or could be potentially being lazy. The other confirmation for that, just so you know, Midnight Smoker and everybody else, proper hardware wallets. And so like hardware wallets like Trezor or Ledger, the big companies, their wallets have multiple different tamper evidence indicators. And so like, first things first, has the box been opened? Okay, somebody looked into my box. If something like that happens, Ledger sends you a new one. If you report, hey, my Ledger arrived and it was tampered with, they got you on stuff like that because they don't want to be responsible, if something did go wrong. But after that, when you actually plug in your Ledger hardware wallet for the first time, it will run a security check on the device in order to actually check to make certain that it's never been tampered with. And so it should be fine to have it sent to Best Buy, Midnight Smoker, but it's also so easy to just have it sent to your house and to get the free Bitcoin for having done it directly through. And so like, they've actually, the new model is out with the bigger screen, which I probably need to go ahead and do that. But I would probably just recommend getting directly through the website if I were you, Midnight. Yes, and that is a great one. Lizard King says Ledger is not good for old eyes. That is absolutely true, depending upon which model you get. And so, like, I use this model. The screen is tiny. I love this model. I can see it. It's 2 little buttons, and I do all of my crypto on the computer. That does not make this hardware wallet the right hardware wallet for everybody. If you have a hard time with looking at small screens, yes, you're going to need to get a larger one. And if you do everything from your phone, you absolutely are going to need to look for one that connects via Bluetooth to your phone, or one that you can get a connecting cable for that allows you to connect it to your phone. And so Ellipal, I've heard a lot of positive things. On Ellipal, they've got a phone application that goes along with their hardware wallet card. And so, yes, definitely take that into consideration. I'm glad you said that, Lizard King, because it is an important one. When you're getting a hardware wallet, keep that in mind. Also, big things right there. Eyesight for the really small ones. If that's going to be a problem, definitely I recommend spending the extra money to get a larger screened hardware wallet. And then beyond that, make certain that you get one that fits how you crypto. If you crypto on your phone, then you're going to need one that has Bluetooth and connect to your phone. If you crypto on the computer, then, you can get a different type of model. But all right, though, guys, I know there's more and more questions, but we're at 2 hours and 3 minutes, and then I see Pops, nodding off back there.
He's just ready for workday. Wendy, thanks. Yeah, just somebody noticing some of the fake me's over on X. There's so many fakes. There's the one that's been pretending to be you to save somebody. Hopefully you paid attention to those emails.
Yes, and also, guys, too, please be extremely careful out there on all of that. There are no QFS accounts. There are no QFS wallets. There are no things that need to be done. You don't have to do anything in the cryptocurrency blockchain space to be ready for what is coming. There is nothing that you need to do. If there's something you should do, I'd recommend learning a little bit about how it works, but that's it. You don't need to spend a dime on anything, and there is no person on the internet to trust.
Yeah, unfortunately, no. All I'm
while I'm speaking to you through the internet, do not trust anyone that reaches out to you about anything to do with investments. Please do not trust them, because whoever these folks are that are scamming people in our names, that person is making one shit ton of money, and it's please stop listening to those folks. I'm not there. I'm not on there. And I know that the people that I talk with on a regular basis, they would tell you there's no way it's me. I don't have that time. And not because I don't want to hang out and chat with everyone in the community. I can promise you it is physically impossible that I am messaging you right now.
Yeah, I'm same. I don't have enough time to talk to my kids as much as I want to.
Yeah.
I'm certainly not going to take the time to talk to you guys for 6 hours.
And that is not because I do not want to. But
no, exactly.
It is not in the slightest. It is, please, guys, please. And if you see anyone in the community saying that they are, call it out. Be each other's protectors on that one. And also keep in mind, it's not just us. Keep on the lookout for friends, family, and etc. If you start to hear things from friends, family, or etc., talking about some kind of crazy type thing that they're getting into, or that someone's helping them do, ask some questions and tell them to stop. Please. It's something that we can all do out there. 100%. I'm actually going to be on the phone with a person from the community in a little while today. To talk about the repercussions of what all happened to her. And so please, guys, please. So I'll stop with my PSA on that one, but it absolutely breaks my heart seeing that.
Yeah, it does. Mine too. And it's not, I very much believe a new system is coming. We call it a QFS. It's not some magical one computer with aliens running it, guys. It is
there's no
technology of ledger-based transactions.
And the same thing on the crypto side, the world is going to move to the blockchain financial system, to the new system. It's going to happen, and you do not need to do anything. It's going to happen without us doing anything. And so on that side, if people are telling you anything in regards to cryptocurrency that you have to be doing or that is necessary, you don't. You really don't. You don't even have to buy crypto. Your money is going to turn into a cryptocurrency.
And you won't even notice it.
Anything. That's why I say no one needs to buy crypto, but you damn sure need to learn what the heck it is, because it's about to control your life.
Yep. Definitely. All right, Abby, Norma, Steve, and I saw Jamie a late add to the birthday list. You can run away here on this one. You don't have to
love you guys so much. Love you guys so much. I will talk to y'all soon.
All right, see ya. Few birthday folks out there. Sorry, we're getting at it so late. So they tell me it's your birthday. Well, happy birthday, darling. May you live, may you love, may all your dreams come true. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you, to all those celebrating. All right, folks, tonight, 7 short news one. Hopefully we'll get something pretty solid. If not, we'll just do some questions and answers, and then Whiskey and Wisdom at 8 with the possible sighting of Andy Schectman coming at us. See you guys this evening.